I deserve it.
In a world desperate to tear itself apart, only one man, and some other people, stand in the way of total destruction. Together they will right the wrongs, make bad, good, and single-handedly destroy evil, together. Who is this man, you may ask? This man is Geoff.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Geoff Jones and Friends Make It Better. The show that takes one of life's little annoyances, gives him a microphone, a guest, and a podcast to quite simply make everything better. I'm delighted to welcome comedian, musician, music teacher, father, son, and moron, Mike Vaughan. Mike Vaughan.
Thank you, Geoff.
To a very, very special Father's Day episode of Geoff Jones and Friends Make It Better.
Hello, Geoff. Hello, everyone
Mike,
listening.
how are you?
I'm good, yeah. I'm good. I'm actually sat back completely gobsmacked by that amazing intro. Like, it was a joy to watch. It was like suddenly, this kind of being sort of came to life, and I was like, man, I'm hooked.
I felt
got it.
actually like I transcended the podcast universe then. I was like, do you know what?
I witnessed it.
Well, I'm glowing.
I almost feel bad for the people that are just listening because they can't see what happened.
Can't see the shining light.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can hear the shining, the glow that is coming from it. It may be actually the glow is probably just because it's so goddamn hot.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
could also be, what it is for me that I'm sort of hallucinating and I'm not seeing you do anything at all. It's so hot. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, there's flames coming out of that guy's head. Oh, hang on a second. I'm running 40 degrees C here.
Time for a glass of water and a lay down.
Yeah.
Well, before you have a glass of water and a lay down, Mike. Look, this is not like so. Usually, the podcast, a guest comes on, they've got their own agenda, and we talk about a thing and we make it better at the end. But this is a special episode for Father's Day, so it's being released on the Sunday of Father's Day. Is it? I think that's.
I'm pretty sure it's Sunday.
It is.
I think, yeah.
So people listen to it is hopefully it's Sunday for them.
I love that we don't. I love that we don't know.
I don't.
It's like we had one job to talk about Father's Day.
Yeah.
At some point, I don't know.
Was actually the only job I had was to know when Father's Day is.
Yeah.
But hey, Mother's Day, I'm told for a hell of a long time ahead of it.
Yeah.
It's Father's Day.
Exactly. Father's Day just kind of appears out of thin air, doesn't it? It's just like, oh, it's Father's Day this Saturday or whatever. Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
If Tesco's doesn't tell me it's what kind of national holiday or special event it is, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I have asked them to say kind of when is Hayley, my wife, when's her birthday and when's her anniversary, so they can play adverts.
Yeah.
Just so eventually I'll know.
Yeah.
So far, not responded.
When your email inbox is kind of like full of all these companies desperate to use the latest holiday to sell something, it's always really funny the way they try to kind of shoehorn it in. Like it'll be, it'd be sort of like Durex, and they'll be kind of advertising for, I don't know, for sort of Hug a Puppy Day or something like that. They'd be like, how are you trying to? Sorry, I shouldn't use the word shoehorn and Durex in one sentence. I'd like to backpedal that. I'd like to backpedal that analogy.
I did kind of think you were going for Kleenex and Father's Day. And there's two ends of that. One could be for
either
tears,
or. Yeah,
and the other could be because men are
filthy.
They're disgusting.
Have
animals.
colds all the time. Is that what you're implying? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I actually used to get like a cold one cold a month. So unless I take an echinacea, this is completely nonsense. And
that's because you have kids. That's why, you see, bringing it back to Father's Day. Yeah, somebody said to me, once you have kids, like you just get colds all the time. And I was like, oh, I'll be fine. And then
I
get all the illnesses.
I work from home. So my home is my whole office. Obviously, I'm a very successful podcaster, but the sideline, that I do for 40 hours a week, I don't leave the house. And I'm
starting to worry about you. I hope you do get some sunlight. And some vitamin D and vegetables.
Vegetables never.
Yeah.
So I've got my youngest goes to one school. My middle
It'd
at
be weird if he
home
went to two
goes to.
schools.
I know it's got. Well, I said
I
one
know what
goes
you
to
mean.
one school,
Sorry.
another goes to a different school, and then one goes to. You stop facetious,
I
Mike.
know. Sorry.
Jeez. And then I've got my eldest at home goes to college, and my wife works at school. So I'm in my little kind of eco chamber of just germ free,
Yeah.
but they all bring in the
Okay.
germs.
Yeah.
I mean, I witnessed my 9 year old after swim practice. He was going to the little the water spout thing. They got a water machine, and he put his whole mouth around the bit where the water comes out of. And I was like, "You cannot do that." And he's like, "What?
Yeah.
Why? That's where the water is." I was like, "But that's also where germs are. That's where other
Yeah.
people's
Exactly.
mouths live."
Also, where almost everyone else's mouth has been.
And now I'm
Yeah.
going to come back and have syphilis or something, like, because he's done that. I'm going to get ill.
Yeah. They don't think, do they? Like they're selfish.
They're very
When
selfish.
doing all this stuff, it's like, come on, mate.
But
How's this going to affect me?
that is part of being a dad. It's those
Yeah.
sacrifices that you make.
Yes. Yeah.
I brought up
Sanity, hairline. Yeah.
that's the waking up. I made what I thought as a dad a very valid point, right? I'm the
Yeah.
only person in the house that eats the crust of bread, right?
Yes.
And if there is two slices of bread and two crusts, I'll be like, you know what?
Yeah.
I want,
I'll have the crust. I'll take one for the team.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I said to my wife that no one else in the house to do that. And she said, but that's because we're not martyrs, Geoff. And I felt that
Yeah.
that wasn't the response that I wanted.
You're after. You're hoping she was going to kind of get down on her knees and sort of go,
Right.
oh, God, what a sacrifice.
Like,
Yeah.
I did. Yeah, I wanted a little bit of. Do you know what? After all these years, I didn't know kind of
Yeah.
the turmoil that you go through at the end of a loaf of bread.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't get that.
Here I am, just willy-nilly, just taking whatever slice I want.
Any slice.
But you are genuinely sacrificing, and you're taking that end slice, and it's often a bit stale.
Yeah.
As well, because it's been there like at the top, hasn't it, for ages, and it sort of goes down and down and down. Because I'm similar with a block of cheese. I was saying this the other day. That it doesn't matter what shape that cheese is in. I'll always take one for the team, and I'll make sure it's flat in the end. So if it's all, if it's wonky, if there's a bit of mold on it, I just take that off, and I make sure by the end it's perfectly square again.
Yeah, but
go for it.
These are the things. These conversations aren't happening within the household.
No. No.
Because it's just.
Is that a good thing? Is that bad?
I don't know. Oh my God!
Houses across the country going, listen, love, I clean up the cheese, okay?
I clean the cheese.
Where were you? Okay, you were in Vietnam, but I was at home.
When was the last time you had the crust of a loaf of bread? I feel
I'm trying to bring them up. You think you've suffered?
Yeah.
When was the last time you had a stale crust? I want to know.
Yeah. Oh yes, Haley, my wife, I love you, and you may 79p of every pound of a man, but when that 21 pence, that's the crust. That's because
exactly.
you don't eat the crust.
It's the price that we pay. Yeah. Yeah, they don't have. Could you have a hashtag for that? Crust 2 or something like that. Yeah.
Hashtag crusty. No.
Cheese 2. Cheese 2 kind of works. Yeah. Like hashtag.
My God.
I don't know. It's going to come to us.
And I don't want this to end up being some kind of
just to get to our grievances about bread.
Yeah, about this. Yeah. It's not bread; it's sacrifice.
Being a father is basically just about having that last crust. But actually, you do raise a serious point that I have kind of realised. I'm sort of being a musician and being a comedian, like, and all those things is I've kind of bought to responsibility for all of my life. I'm almost going to kind of sum up maybe the whole podcast in this short kind of anecdote, but because my dad died when I was really young, I was only 2, and he was 36.
Wow!
And I didn't realize until I was about, I don't know, kind of 38, how much it had affected me. And I kind of really think to myself, that I just didn't think that I was going to have a second part of my life. And I thought it was one of those things where I sort of didn't really kind of plan a pension, didn't really take relationships seriously, didn't kind of worry about sort of career and everything. And I got to about kind of like 39-ish, and I was like, maybe I should start thinking about some of those things. Maybe I am going to have a second part of my life.
So is this because the age you reached the age where he, and sorry for your loss, but is this because he, so, sorry for your loss, but anyway, I've got content to
Yeah,
create. No, so
I mean, it's nothing compared to having stale bread, but
you're living your true kind of
yeah,
tail. But so is that because the age that you reached the age that he was, and so you
yes,
were
yeah,
up until that point, you were like, well, you can just pop off at any time, or is it because
yeah.
you didn't have that, I don't know, guidance from that
It was
father
weird, yeah,
figure?
because yeah, so like I found it hard to kind of explain to people because I've never just been like, as I want it to happen, but I was quite kind of like sanguine about the fact of just sort of like dying. I was like, oh well, it will happen,
Yeah,
and I think I realized that I just genuinely assumed it would happen, and happened kind of around a similar time. And I've spoken now to some other people. In fact, I read an interview with the guy that played Dexter, and his dad died at 40, and he went through like a similar thing. And it's just weird, like when you sort of growing up with that, um, I think it's not a surprise to you. You're aware of the kind of ephemeral sort of nature of life, that like we're here and it's like a transitory thing, and there is an end goal, well, not an end goal, there's an end to it all, and
yeah,
so you just kind of go, oh well, that's going to happen. And I think that before I had kids, I was almost kind of okay with that as well. Like, oh well, it's just me. Um, when you then have kids, like you start thinking, uh, like how it's affected me. Like, and obviously I'm 46 now, and I sort of start to think to myself stuff like, God, I sort of don't want them to kind of be thinking about me like this. So when they're 40,
yeah,
so it's almost like I have to survive. Even with the cheese and bread sacrifices, it's like I need to show up, yeah, because like I kind of don't want them to have to go through what I did.
yeah,
And I know a lot of it is out of my control, but are the things that I can control, and actually showing up and kind of being there for them, sort of like tidying up the cheese, whatever those things are, like I sort of feel that I kind of really want to do, like, and even though it's a sacrifice, like I feel fortunate that I'm in that position, like, and I can do that
yeah,
because, A, I didn't think I was ever going to have kids, and also B, like I didn't really kind of like have a dad like or that relationship when I was growing up. Somebody did say to me, which I think is true, that you know, it's not for the best because I would have loved to have had a dad, but in a way, I've got like a blank canvas, and it's like I haven't really got because a lot of people, if they've got like a difficult relationship with their dad or something, they've got things to overcome.
yeah.
And I almost feel like I've got like a blank slate, really. And so when we have things like Father's Day, we never really celebrated that, so it's only really been since I've had kids that I've celebrated Father's Day.
First of
Which
all, thank you for opening up on that. It's
I was going to say it's a pleasure, but sounds like sounds like a weird way to say it.
you're
Sorry.
welcome. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
because it is a case that I do, obviously, as you're a child growing up, the influence of parents around us around you does help shape who you are as a person. Um,
yeah,
my dad is an odd one because he's always there for the big things. Um,
yeah,
Dad, if you ever listen to this, and then I love you. But
yeah,
always there for the big things. If you need help, then in a heartbeat. But
yeah,
that just general day to day emotional. Do you know what? I've got a very selective memory. One of my strongest memories of my dad young. Well, there's two. One was us randomly playing cricket in a park, and I hit the ball and it hit his
yeah,
shin, and it was game over. The second one was whenever we drove anywhere, if there's a bad driver, it was bloody woman drivers, and I was like, oh, dad is a man, probably taught by a
yeah,
woman. Like, so my
yeah.
dad was quite
Somehow he could blame a woman.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's quite an
wouldn't matter what it was.
old
Yeah,
school misogynist.
yeah,
But what it did do was I was a young I was a young dad. So yeah, I'm 41. My eldest is just about to turn 23. Well, you can do the maths. Um, and I hope you can do the math.
I
But
was going to say I can't.
I appreciate
I
you.
wasn't going to out myself.
I appreciate you're a music teacher. You know, I was 18 years old, um, and oh geez, I was a kid. Like I had no idea what was going on. There was also, a wrong, strict, difficult relationship for someone of that age. But yeah, I had two children by the time I was 20 years old. And one thing I knew that I was going to be probably more emotionally available to them, not try and be their friend, even though we were kind of, I don't know, growing up at the same time, kind of,
Yeah.
which sounds weird with an 18-year-old age difference, but I had no idea who I was until I was about 30, 35, 36 years
Yeah.
old.
But I'm still not sure who the hell I am. So yeah.
But I still had a reference point. And I was like, yes, I want to be there for the big things like my dad was, but I also want to make sure that I'm emotionally available and they know that there's someone there who will support them emotionally, not for judgment, not for just, right, this is how we're going to deal with it, but just for listening.
Yeah.
Which is difficult as a dad. And no, I don't make many excuses to my dad, but it is generational. A lot's
Yeah.
changed in within our generation, even that we've seen from being young to our age now, that society is more susceptible to men just talking. And
Yeah.
yeah,
We're allowed to feel.
we are. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I say my was 18. I actually age of 17, me and my then partner went through a pregnancy. I had a stillborn child, did the whole burial. I was told at the age of 17, don't, right, you have to be there for my then partner and her mum. I had to be strong for them at 17 years old.
Yeah. It's a hell of a weight to carry.
Right. And I carried that weight
Yeah.
for years. I don't think I cried for about 7 years until I was with my now wife
Yeah.
and our family. And I felt that it was okay to actually show that emotion. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing else is bad enough. Um,
I guess there's no time limit on grief either. Like
right.
it sort of takes as long as it takes. I think kind of when you sort of experience grief, because actually, I mean, it feels like my mum is kind of going through partners, but we had a stepdad.
So
Yeah, we had a stepdad that died last year, and
oh no.
yeah, he died last May because he had the soup too. No,
The soup.
like
Oh, okay, yeah,
yeah,
just got you. The Black Widow,
yeah,
right?
sorry, yeah, yeah, and like we're saying to some people because they were going through some grief as well, that like it hits you kind of how it hits you, and it's one of those things. There's a lot of talk of like how things should be, and should you feel like this or like should you do that, and you just kind of go with how you feel. And I think being okay with feeling how you feel, and also letting other people go through the process in their own way as well, and it never feeling like you have to do something a certain way. And I think, if grief takes a few years to come out, then that's cool. If it comes out instantly, we shouldn't force it, and we shouldn't feel ashamed, I think, to kind of go through those processes as and when they just feel right and natural for us.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
definitely, and that is extremely well said. And the biggest criticism that I get on this podcast is my guest says something really great and profound, and then I just start talking nonsense after it and really just dumb it down. But
I was worried that I was just going to be talking nonsense, so I'll take your compliments there.
no, it isn't. The level that we're currently at in this episode is fantastic because it is things that need talking about. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to say that hey, us men have got the worst lives, but there is a real stigma around mental. But actually, for everyone, I say your mother and you, and I mean so you mentioned that you were behaving a certain way up until you had children at the age of kind of 37, 38 years old. Was everything before that was that a symptom of grief? Was there a lack of that stereotypical kind of father figure? I mean, so you had a stepdad.
Yeah.
What was going on with inside of you, kind of for that
Yeah.
34 years?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question, yeah, because I think that part of me would like to blame it all on that. But yeah, there was plenty of stuff, where wasn't amazing in relationships. And I was quite kind of reckless a few times. And with things like money, was really bad. And I suppose like it's difficult because I'm sure that those things did factor into it. And I think um, I have read somewhere that people that have kind of like childhood trauma um, often have things like ADHD, and they have poor kind of impulse control. And I think I've kind of definitely had that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm sure there's factors of that, but also like I suppose I got into Motley Crue, So Tommy Lee's as much to blame as anything because yeah, I would kind of just sort of see those guys and be like, I want to be like that, and then
That's
yeah,
that. I love that Motley Crue and Tommy Lee is the benchmark. Do you know what? I've got no other male guidance. So
yeah,
Tommy
I know
Lee is
exactly.
where it's at. Oh, you got Pamela Anderson, so why the hell
I
not?
know exactly. I know exactly, which I think is kind of why I'm screwed maybe more than losing my father, like is having him as an early role model. But actually, it's interesting you say that because I've since said this to female friends and see if you relate. That most of the male role models that we have, or something I had when I was growing up, like they are a certain kind of type of person. Like they're all a cad, they're all quite bad with women, where they're often kind of womanizers, um, maybe kind of drink, quite macho.
Yeah,
And I do think like it does kind of program us, yeah, to believe that men should be a certain way. And I think I was a kind of much shyer, sort of like quieter kid, really. Um, and when I got to kind of teenage years, like I saw people that I use the word cad, but you might want to kind of bleep this, but cad is kind of code for dick. Like I
yeah.
would see those kind of guys, I were getting all of the girlfriends and stuff. And I remember just thinking to myself, well, maybe I should be like that then. And what's heartbreaking, like, is at times it did work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you have to sort of say to yourself, well, am I going to be the arbiter of my own behavior? Because if I'm not, then who else is? And it feels easy to kind of blame, what's happened to us or blame external factors, but sometimes we have to go, am I driving this thing or not? And the answer is, I don't know the answer to that, but if I am, um, I should maybe try to steer it sensibly,
Yeah.
and not into this kind of like ravine of Tommy Lee inspired revelry.
I mean,
That's a
but
sentence, a ravine, Tommy Lee inspired. Sorry.
I mean, my situation is different because, yeah, like I said, I was very lucky to have the father I am who's there for the big moments. My
Yeah.
my mum and dad broke up when I was an age. Do you know what? I kind of pitch it somewhere between 8 and 12. I don't really know, and it's not something that we kind of openly discuss. Um,
Yeah.
one of my earliest memories is my dad sat down with me and my sister and telling us that this is happening. But yeah, we still. I mean, it was actually pretty amicable. I saw both of them every single day. It was no problem. Anyway,
Yeah.
then a couple of years later, my mum finds my stepdad, who is referenced as the only person that listens to this podcast. He's not, just for so everyone knows, not wasting the time. But I do, because he will listen to it, and he's always been almost that emotional side. So I've got that
Yeah.
two bits. I said on my wedding speech that I couldn't have handpicked a better guy for my mum. So I've
Yeah.
got that dad who shows up and steps up, and
Mm.
but is pretty misogynistic.
Yeah. So
Um,
kind of old
but
school kind of man.
but taught, yes, but still taught me a lot about just life in general, and doing things a certain
Yeah.
way, and I know the practical bits really. And I've got my stepdad who, at the age of, I don't know, 16 years old, maybe younger, but for legal reasons, yeah, we'd sit up and watch Deliverance and
Yeah.
Reservoir Dogs and things like this, and I know, art films. And
Yeah.
he kind of opened me up to a completely different side emotionally, all
Yeah.
alongside my mum being just a strong, amazing woman. Anyway, being that
Yeah.
that backbone. But we're not talking about mums today, so sorry, mum, you're in the back seat.
No, exactly. It's
Um,
fathers.
so
Yeah.
I had
He
all
was
my,
connecting with you, wasn't he?
he was, and I know he
Yeah.
found it very difficult during certain periods of mine and my sister's life. always felt it wasn't his place to speak up, but was always there regardless. Um,
Yeah.
and so I'm kind of lucky in that way because whilst I have my own insecurities as a parent, and I think if anyone thinks they're the best parent in the world, then they're probably not the best parent in the world. But I know that I'm both emotionally available, but also strong and can give advice and can be there, whilst also saying, "Hey, let's drink cider and watch."
Yeah. Watch Reservoir
Watch,
Dogs.
yeah, watch Reservoir Dogs. Um, it's molded me, and yeah, my children, they have, I don't know, they have their own problems with today's just being
Yeah.
society as it is. But whilst I can't help them, God, I wish I could help. At least I have a certain amount of experience and a certain amount of skills to just know that there's a time to give advice and there's a time to shut up, and that's
Yeah.
what I'm very lucky at. So yeah, I kind of have all the dads. Um,
Yeah.
and so I guess I kind of trump you there, Mike. Sorry. Um,
It's okay. Like, we often joke here because we had my actual dad that died. Yeah, I was 2 and he was 36. Then we had a stepdad who was with us for quite a few years, like, and he died. And and then we had another stepdad, like I said, that died last year. Um, and it is weird when it's Christmas and we go to the dad's graves,
yeah.
and it's kind of plural and possessive, so it's a punctuation nightmare. Like my dad's graves, is it dad S apostrophe or what? Yeah, that's weird. That's a thing that I've had to kind of worry about. How to punctuate that
Just keep
sentence.
going.
Yeah, but what I was going to say is that's interesting is for listening to your story is perhaps that is what is hard about kind of being a father, because in a way, you had that kind of like through 2 people. I had that maybe through a couple as well, and actually maybe there's no such thing as like a perfect thing or a perfect person, and
This sounds like the
something
greatest compliment anyone said. So there's no such thing as the perfect human, but Geoff.
But Geoff, I think hearing that anecdote about the bread, I now realise there is, and it's you. Yeah.
I accept. So,
Wear that crown proud, my friend.
which is just moldy bread.
Yeah, yeah. A crowd of moldy bread. It's like that line in I think it's Nine Inch Nails' Hurt, I wear this crown of bread. That's what I'm going to sing it as from now on.
Jesus has his thorns.
Yeah.
I have
You
crusts
have
of
your
bread.
Warburtons.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying I'm Jesus. I'm just
Yeah, yeah.
saying
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah. Just saying, you've not seen him and me and a loaf of bread
in the
in the
same
same
place.
room. Yeah.
So much. Obviously, you lost your dad. Obviously, so you lost your dad at age of 2. Yeah,
Yeah.
your mum has another husband for a period of time. He passes away. You then have another stepdad who passes
Yeah.
away. Though, two questions, I suppose. First of all, their influences on you. Were they involved as a strong stepdad role, or were they hands off? And second of all, like, how do you deal with that kind of multiple grief of these father figures that
Yeah.
keep losing?
Can't keep hold of them.
Like,
Don't know what we're doing.
yes.
And my mum's still got, she's 70 odd now, but like if anyone out there's listening, fancies like taking a 1 and 2 and 2 40-year-old children, then
Two 40-year-old children
get an email in.
and just don't eat the soup.
Grandchildren. Yeah, yeah, exactly. But they will have to take the bread. So
That's
yeah, when they make the soup, they can mop it up. And hope maybe that's what we're doing. We don't realize it. It's like a survival instinct. We're worried about the poisonous soup, so we're going, well, if I have the crust, that's gonna soak it up.
Also, and fair play to the crust, it does make a good spoon because it's got a little bit
Yeah,
more, especially for eating soup.
absolutely. Yeah.
Um,
When you make a sandwich, that doesn't sort of. Welcome to culinary advice.
yeah. Welcome to Eating Soup with Mike and Geoff.
Yeah.
Um,
My family is the worst people to like take advice from. But to answer your question seriously, sorry. So, like I kind, with age, hopefully, you gain some wisdom, and I kind of really wish, with the second dad, a chap called Les, that I could have a conversation with him now and actually thank him for all that he did, because when we were growing up, it was kind of never really sort of made clear that he was like a stepdad, in a way. We called him Uncle Les, and it was kind of weird that no one kind of explained almost that like he's now your father figure. He was a guy that was kind of with my mum, and it sort of just felt weird. Like I'd explain him to people, like, and I'd say, "Oh yeah, there's Uncle Les," and they'd go, "Is he your uncle then?" And I'd be like, "Well, no." I said, "Who is he?" "Well, he sort of lives with us, and he's with my mum." What do you call him uncle for then? I'm like, I don't know, but yeah, not sure. But he was 20 years older than my mum, and he was very old school, and he was very strict. And I think as kids, kind of, we didn't really sort of like bond with that. But in hindsight, like when I look back, he actually kind of like did something that I do admire, where like he risked being unpopular to do what he thought was right. I think that was kind of really admirable. And he would, with things like manners, like if we didn't say please and thank you and stuff, like he'd be on us like a powerful moss, or like if we were at the table, like, and I didn't kind of raise my elbow up, he'd be on me like a wet flannel. And, and my brother actually said, and we were about kind of 20, like we're sat, and we're having like a Sunday roast or something, like, and my brother did something at the table, like, and Les went, "Don't do that at the table." Like my brother just, after years of hearing about all these arbitrary rules at the table, was like, "Oh, I've had it up to here with the table. Praise the table." He was going, and it was like we all laughed and kind of realized, yeah, it's gone too far now. We're all these things, yeah, that, with kind of rules and respect and kind of politeness. But even now, like the amount of times that people say, "Oh, you're so polite." And I think back and I think, had it not have been for him, then I probably wouldn't have been, or certainly not as much. And they're just the little things, that like I really sort of respect and thank him for. And I suppose I kind of never really got the chance to tell him, because when he passed, because he was older than my mum, I was living in London, and we did have some difficult teenage years, because as you can imagine, when he was kind of telling us what to do all the time, it was a bit, kind of, "I'm not doing that, like, you're not my dad."
Yeah.
But he was always there. And he always stepped up. So, yeah, just kind of wish I could sort of go back and say, thank you, actually, Les, because, you may have been mental with the table rules, but actually, yeah, some of those rules, they pay dividends.
It's like Mr. Miyagi with the whole wax on, wax off. There was a reason for it, and unfortunately, he just didn't get that time to, I don't know, put an illegal kick to someone's face to say thank you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's fair. I mean, how old are your children?
So we've literally just had a little girl. So she's 3 weeks old.
Congratulations.
And, thank you. Well, it was Joe that did most of the work.
Yeah, but you were there eating the crust throughout the whole thing.
I was there. Well, I'll tell you actually what I was doing. Speaking of eating, Joe actually bit my finger at one point, because she thought it was her hand. Okay, so she was kind of biting on, and I'm so kind of British and polite. Thanks for that, Les. Thanks for making me so polite. Yeah. And she was kind of biting my finger, and I was like, "Can I put up with this?" And because it wasn't her hand, and she thought it was, she just started biting harder and harder. Okay. And after about 20 seconds, I was a bit like, "No, I can't." And I think it's weird, because as she was finding out about her pain threshold, I was finding out about mine. That's about 20 seconds.
Yeah, I constantly bring up my wife. So my wife's eldest, so my third child, a horrible labor, 24 and a half hours. Just it was horrible. But I had flu.
Yeah.
And I was so rough, and I kept falling asleep in the chair, like full on aching.
Yeah.
No one cared about me. No one cared about me. My wife, at hour 20 of being in labour, and I'm there, just, "Please, someone give me a blanket and a hot water bowl,
Exactly.
maybe some soup and a crust of bread." No,
exactly.
there was none of that.
In the house?
I'm
Yeah.
in a hospital and nobody cared because my wife. No, I'm joking, obviously, to a
Yeah.
certain extent. But I took one for the team. I took
Yeah.
one for the team and just sat there and suffered in silence.
Yeah. It's definitely inside. Didn't make a fuss. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you should have done.
Oh, goodness me.
Yeah. Like, can you imagine? I mean, yeah, she's struggling, but look, yeah, yeah. Seen the color of me?
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm having a fever dream here.
that's it. I mean, yeah, there's literally fluids being pumped into her. Why can I have some?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Can
all
I
I
have
need.
some gas or just anything? Yeah. Can I have
Anything.
an epidural from here down?
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm aching. Just stick it in my neck.
yeah. Think at the time of labor, think of the husband. Like,
It is a weird place to be in, though, isn't it? Sort of linking it again
right.
to Father's Day. Like, it is a weird place to kind of be where, like, there's almost no kind of preparation for how weirdly useless and kind of impotent
Mm.
that you feel in that moment. And it's like you're trying to help, but it's like if you say, I don't know, kind of breathe, they're like, yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but if you don't say anything, you, so
Are
it's
you
like, what do
supporting?
you do? And if I was going to say, if I could have taken some of her pain, I would, yeah, but I realized I just moaned about my finger being
You
bit.
just worried about
So
yourself.
maybe that's not true. But, I'm sure we would, like, if we could sort of take on some of the burden, but it's like you're just there and real sort of, I know, kind of advice for just that actual moment, like of kind of what to do. And I think what I
Yeah,
realized is all I just kept saying to her was, you've got this.
yeah,
And I realized that was my only thing, is to help her believe that she could do it. Because at the end, when they're like, oh, I can't do this anymore. I'm like, no, you can.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? This is in no way for anyone listening. If this is somehow turned into this "woe is me" being man thing, it really isn't, because
Yeah.
I know what you mean. It's that feeling of helplessness. So
Yeah.
it's all about your partner. It's all about the
Yeah.
child. That's it. And you're useless in this. You can't help get them out. You
No.
can't help with the pain. You can't help with the. So you're saying things and being
Yeah.
a genuinely generally kind of rubbish man anyway.
Yeah. And you feel kind of like self-conscious as well sometimes.
Yeah, and you may have flu, but
Yeah, exactly.
it is that, and I have just the respect I have for women and the whole giving birth and everything, that it's just.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I actually think my respect comes from the fact that I know that I can't do anything. And if there is a situation where I'm completely
Yeah.
powerless, apart from words of support, which
Yeah.
could often be quite
I
annoying
was a
because they're
bit like
trying to
that during the
concentrate.
conception.
Yeah.
That's completely foul. The words of support.
That's it. The way you said, the fact that you did that feeling of impotence during the labour. Well,
Yeah.
maybe if you had that at the start, then you
Yeah,
wouldn't be in that
exactly. I would
situation.
be in the mess. Like, did you
But
have this thing that happened where, like, you saw the switch in your partner kind of go on, and and she was like handed the baby. So our lad's called Rufus after Rufus Wainwright, and I was handed Rufus, and I saw this kind of switch go on, and it was like she was like, okay, and she kind of went from the closest to the edge I've ever seen a person be. Like, I was then kind of breastfeeding, like, and I was thinking, God, I'm still the same idiot, and I had this like panic of like, where's my switch? Oh no, like,
You're
I'm
right.
still waiting for it to go on.
They're sweaty, exhausted, tired, just in pain. I mean, getting
Yeah,
sewn up, whatever it is. But
yeah,
all of a sudden, they're just like, "Here you go. You're
yeah,
now a mum," and they're like,
yeah.
"Yeah, I've got this," and
I
it's
know
just
exactly.
it
Yeah,
blows it blows my. But this isn't Mother's Day. They get their day. They get the
yeah.
chocolates. They get this. This is Father's Day,
I know. Yeah,
and I'm going to go around talking about the sacrifices. No,
yeah. I
it's
mean, it's hard for us as well, though, kind of in that moment, because we get all of that, and well, we're not sociopaths, or hopefully not. But like, there is still this complete feeling of, of sort of helplessness, and it's like you want to know what to do and you want to help, but um, it's a weird kind of, I don't know, pressure or something where, like, almost in any other kind of area of life, like I've never probably felt as almost completely just, I don't know what I'm doing, you know? Yeah.
and
Um,
and then you become a dad and you spend
Yeah,
the rest of your life saying, I don't know what I'm doing.
doing the same thing. Rules at the table.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I'm sort of so obsessed with rules at the table. I know what I was going to say actually. When we were talking about kind of like the different types of fathers and everything, there's a part of me that's now worried that I should encourage my partner Joey to have an affair, because it's almost like, like if Rufus kind of turns out worse than me, it's only my fault. Do you know what I mean? Maybe not having a dad, or I'm having a different one, would behoove him. So yeah,
So
we'll see.
that's all you need. No, just more male figures. So like, I don't know, you get an Amazon delivery driver comes up, they knock on the
Yeah.
door. Before they run away, before you've opened the door, say, hey, no, come in, spend some time with my child.
Yeah, like come in, sort of like spend some time with the family. I mean, I do sort of like, yeah,
What's your opinions on table etiquette?
yeah, yeah, because I do sort of like joke kind of like with Joey sometimes. It's maybe like an overshare, but I am guess like if I did kind of like have a I don't know, sort of like a description like for this, I would be bi. So we do sort of joke sometimes. Maybe we need some kind of like hot weekend dad that can do, I don't know, sort of, yeah, sports and stuff. And I can kind of, we get him, like we all get something from him.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny that you said like it's so funny you say the Amazon driver as well, yeah, because I've got this running joke with Rufus, like, and he always asks me to do it, of like how far down the list I am. So I'm like, there's him, there's Mummy, and there's Safi now. We've got the milkman, the Riverford guy, like the Amazon guy, the neighbor Gary.
Yeah.
He's not going to listen to this.
Hi, Gary.
I might send it to him. Yeah, and yeah, there's me kind of like at the bottom, like, and he kind of wants the list to get longer each time. Like I'm thinking, am I joking, or am I just seeing my own fate?
They do, because
Yeah,
kids put dads through the ring, like emotionally. Like my son, my 9-year-old, has no problem at all. He's like, depending on what day it is or who's got him something, though.
yeah,
Top two favorite people. Well, so my eldest has blessed me with two children. So I'm like I've spoken about it on the podcast before. I'm a 41-year-old granddad. That's something you have if you have a child at 18 years old
yeah.
and they're 22,
That's
23.
amazing. Yeah, I waited to
Just
have a kid like till I was 40, 41.
that's it. And
Got
I'm just
grandkids. Yeah,
my family cheers just sprout. Lovely
you
thing.
look
So
incredible, though.
thank you very much.
Honestly, you look
I do.
incredible. Like you're an advocate for having kids and maybe having them younger.
And do you know
Yeah,
what? It's a healthy, balanced diet of crusty bread and not your
yeah,
mum's soup.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but but
And a lot of love.
so what you have is obviously his niece and nephew. They're top tier. So you kind of put them out of the way. But then depending on who's bought them something, it's like granny, nanny, granddad. Yeah, but mum is always kind of within the top two. It
Yeah,
really
yeah.
depends
Oh,
on what kind
absolutely.
of
Yeah,
day he's
yeah,
had.
yeah,
Dad, he's like, I'm really sorry, Dad, but you're like fifth.
yeah,
And but this is not a hey, let's see how many people we can fit in for the J. This is
yeah.
a yeah, I've got
This
to
is
have a chat. I've got to
it's
have a chat with
actually
you,
fair.
Dad.
Yeah,
Like currently you're fifth. You need to step up. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
up your game. I was
Yeah.
like,
It's
yeah,
like
okay.
friendly advice. Like,
Yeah,
do you start singing to him, "The cat's in the cradle and the silver
yeah.
spoon"?
But it's right, they keep you on the toes. But this is why, and I do think, and to take it right, I don't begrudge a close relationship with my. She's amazing. She first of all did all the hard work, not only at conception but also at
Yeah,
labour. But I do think mothers have a bond generally,
yeah,
which is just kind of unrivaled to anything on the planet. I have massive
yeah,
respect for that. And no matter how much football I go out and play or sports I watch, it's never going to compete to that, which is fine.
yeah,
But that does the kind of repentance for that is the fact that mothers get Mother's Day, and
yeah,
Mother's Day is very much there's lots of I don't know, there's chocolate and there's flowers and there's hamper and there's breakfast and there's this and there's that
yeah,
and Father's Day is generally books about pooping or
yeah,
farting. There's a lot of flatulence related gifts. And you go to any
yeah.
supermarket.
Which personally I love, but
Yeah, and I get that, but Mother's Day is all trinkets and
I know,
nice
yeah,
things
yeah,
and jewelry. And Father's Day is a very comical, all the cards are football related or
Yeah,
drink
yeah,
related or
exactly.
fart related. It's still so stereotypical. And you know
Yeah,
what? Maybe I want a nice brooch.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, exactly.
I
I'll
was
get you one.
I always play the old so it's Father's Day, and so do you know what? I had no idea.
Yeah, so maybe something we should have done this after I got my gifts, and I could tell you, like, and I could kind of go, yeah, well, I got another football again.
Oh,
I don't even play
yeah,
football.
big
Yeah,
unboxing.
but it
That's
does
the
kind of make me think though. There's a lot of like gender stereotypes, like in a lot of this, and I think kind of because I've always been a bit more feminine, and I don't know, like if that's because my mum was my main role model,
Mm,
or if it's like an innate thing. I don't know. Um, and I have kind of found it weird, sort of like being a dad, because like people just assume you're going to be like a certain type of person.
yeah.
So it's quite funny in a way because Joey and I'll be the one that's kind of encouraging her to talk about our feelings. I was like, we can't bottle this up, Joe. We need to talk. And she'll be putting a shelf up, going, shut up, like that.
My wife,
Yeah,
my wife has two toolboxes. I have
I know
zero
exactly.
toolboxes.
Yeah,
Uh, Although I
well,
do most
I'm
of
the
the
same.
building of flat pack. I do. I'm
Yeah.
a flat pack master. Um,
So isn't that's so weird because I'm exactly the same. I can't do anything else yet, but I can build flat pack. Do you follow the instructions like to the letter, or like are you one of those that throw them away?
so for a long period of time, I
Yeah,
was like a quick look at what it's meant to look like. I can figure this out now because of multiple failures,
yeah,
and I know that it just cuts the time of actually doing it down a lot. I do
yeah.
meticulously go through the instructions now, and that's probably the one takeaway of me
Yeah,
being
see,
a
I'm the
father.
same.
That's the advice I give.
Yeah.
It's not about dating. It's not
Read
about being
read the
open.
manual.
Read the manual,
Yeah,
IKEA, everything,
yeah.
and you can never have too many Allen keys.
Oh God, yeah, yeah. Have you got an Allen key drawer?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
And also by spend a bit more on black bin bags
yeah,
because you don't want to mess on the floor. That is all the advice I have to
yeah.
give as a father.
I've also just realised, kind of, as I'm sitting, I'm sitting here thinking about gender stereotypes of dads. Okay, one of like the biggest ones is like having a man shed and sort of spending time in there, like away from the family. And I've just realised, the listeners probably don't realise this, but I'm making this from the music studio. That's essentially it's a glorified man shed.
It's a,
Yeah, and the
it's
family, along with the newborn, are in the house, and I'm like, they'll be all right.
well, that'll be
Yeah, yeah.
fine. Here,
I
talking
hate
to
gender
Jeff.
stereotypes unless it suits me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unless it
yeah,
gets me away from the nagging lot for
but
an hour.
exactly. Yeah.
Mike, I don't know if there's an answer to this question. No, we've had
Okay.
this has been an amazing conversation,
Thanks,
and
man.
I hope the men that hear it take it for what it is and understand that we have a responsibility. And I hope the women that listen to this know that everything we've said is through love. But essentially, it's Father's Day.
Yeah,
Hopefully, when people listen to this, the aim of the podcast is to make it better.
yeah.
I I don't know if we're making Father's Day better or being a father better or being the son or the child or the father better.
Yeah.
We've got to make something better. What in this whole relationship of fatherhood is something that you would make better? I've got a thing. Have you got a thing? I'm happy to lead.
I mean, I think my thing, like, it is actually probably linked to what we were saying about the cliches and stereotypes of being a father. And I think, that essentially, if it was a less sort of like prescribed thing that dads have to be like this, kind of mums have to be like that, and it was just, you know, if you're a father and you show up kind of as you are, with the skills and things that you have, and the love that you have for the child, then that's all you need to do. There's not things that you don't have to be, I don't know, sort of the best at DIY. You don't have to be into football. Maybe I'm saying this because I'm sort of deluding myself because I'm not good at either of those things. But like, do you know what I mean? There sometimes kind of feels like to be a dad, like you have to have these things. And I suppose because I don't have them, maybe I've had to kind of think, okay, well, what other things do I have? And I just hope that, that turning up and sort of having the attributes and kind of the love and just being open to kind of vulnerability and kind of failures and just kind of being open about it and also kind of being open to the fact that I don't know stuff half the time, And it doesn't bother me, like I do kind of, I remember sometimes with male role models when I was growing up, like if you ask something that they didn't know, like it would maybe push them to the edge of their comfort zone. And I
Yeah.
think for me, I'm okay with not knowing stuff, and I'll say that, and it's like, okay, well, let's find out together. Um, yeah, so maybe just kind of more open and welcoming to all types of dads, um, and a less prescribed notion of, say, what a father or what a bloke is. If that diatribe makes any sense.
That was beautiful, Mike. And
Oh, thank
you
you.
know, I'm not going to sour it too much. I completely agree. I will.
It would have been amazing
Uh,
if you went, "Oh, you pansy!
get a
Get out there
tool
with a
set,
drill!" Yeah,
kick a
yeah,
football around.
yeah,
No, I think that it takes nothing at all to just produce a child, but it takes a hell of a lot to be consistent, to be an example, but not always a positive example, because it's so. I'm a firm believer that you should show your child your emotions, whether it's positive or negative. You
yeah,
should say, "Hey, be open and honest, and say
yeah,
I'm upset because of this." And don't get me wrong, there's certain topics which I get you protect your children from.
yeah,
But if you show your child that you cannot be sad or upset about things,
yeah.
then you're doing them damage.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
If we all get angry, and a big thing that I do, I try and we've had a bad day, and your child
yeah,
does something, and you flare up,
yeah,
and you shout, or you act negatively to something which you shouldn't.
yeah,
Be the person to show them that, hey, I'm sorry for shouting. I shouldn't have done that. This is what upset me. My
yeah,
reaction was bad. Because what you teach them, not only ownership, but you teach them that it's okay to make mistakes as long as you can articulate it. And that also that just reacting in that way is poor. We have such a responsibility. And because there is still a stereotype or a stigma around fathers about how they're meant to look, and look at any film, then you
yeah,
you have that. It's now kind of these days there's more a TV show that I'm not sure if you've seen called Modern Family. I think depicts the different levels of fatherhood. You've got the old school dad, you've got um,
yeah,
a gay couple that have adopted, you've got a dad with three children and a wife. And yes, it's a comedy, but actually it pings together different
yeah.
aspects of life and these different people. Anyway,
We learn a
definitely.
lot through that, though. I think, it's weird. It's easy to kind of like throw things like that away, but actually, I think a lot of our culture is shaped by
Yeah. And why
things we
not? And,
watch
and
and
if you
art
don't
and stuff.
have
Yeah. So
Or
yeah,
say if you have a negative influence, as if you're a child and have a negative influence, and you are engaging with media, social media, or films that reinforce that, then going to help that child. But if you have a positive aspect, even if they
yeah,
experience negativity in kind of visual media, social media, them there's still a reference point, and it's the person, one of the two people that hopefully they trust most in life.
yeah,
So I've kind of gone off on
yeah.
a bit of thing. I think.
You kind of made me sort of think to myself a couple of things actually. And one of them is that
Well,
your
thank
dads
you,
did a
Graham and
bloody
Jim.
great job.
I love the way that it makes it sound like they're a couple.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Would
they
they
get
be
on.
okay with that? Or yeah, but it also makes me think that you're
Hmm.
a bloody great dad, because I think all those things I think are so true, and they resonate me so much, because we had a thing the other day where because we've just had a little girl.
Yeah.
um our lad is being quite a challenge at the minute. And it's like you can try and be as kind of calm, and as kind of sanguine as you can about this stuff, but sometimes, like, he is just kind of hard to deal
Mm.
with, and it sort of pushes you like to the edge, and kind of that you shouldn't lose your temper, as you say, but you can't help it sometimes. And the other day, um, we were having some kind of altercation, like, and it was about kind of building his Lego car, and we kind of like fell out about it, and I got angry. And then I don't know, like, about it was like 5 minutes afterwards, I came out to my man shed, like, and just kind of like cogitated for a bit,
Yeah.
and I was like, actually, I handled that really poorly. I just went in and told him, and I just sat down to him and I said, I'm so sorry, Rufus. Like, even though kind of what you did, I was difficult. Like, I do feel that I handled that really poorly, and I didn't add anything to it. And it was kind of transformative, only for
Edison's an
about half an
expert.
hour, but yeah, it was transformative. Yeah, like, in fact, yeah, that he was kind of, you know, like, it really seemed to resonate with him, and that I was
Yeah.
willing to say, actually, that was me, you know, and I'm really sorry
It's
kind of for
because
losing
also,
my
also a child
temper.
who's
So
constantly told
yeah,
that what they're doing is wrong, or that they don't, or they've received negative reaction, and grows up to be a person that has that. And it's amazing. And well done you
yeah,
for not needing to come on Geoff Jones and Friends Makes It Better to have that. So yeah, maybe that is your mother's influence. Maybe it's the stepdad's, but whatever it is it's still formed into someone who can think, you know what,
yeah,
actually, yeah, emotional intelligence is
yeah.
important in life.
Or it could even be, we said about like a modern family, it could be how I think I did kind of like disappear sometimes into sort of fantasy worlds, with books and with films and sort of TV. And I've sometimes joked, that actually, I think this is going to be the kind of woe is me section of the podcast. Sorry, but because I didn't really have kind of like many friends when I was growing up, and I was a bit of a loner, um, and I didn't really say much, as you can see. I've turned that around, but I used to kind of um, I used to kind of watch a lot of TV shows and read a lot of books and those kind of things. Um, and I always loved the way that in films and kind of TV shows, people sort of turned up as the best version of themselves. So they're
Yeah.
always trying to get better. Like if you think of kind of loads of the sort of films and TV shows like when we were kids, and I kind of loved that, and I feel that they almost kind of inspired me, like I had to do that myself. Like, and I was always trying to be the best version of myself as I could be. As kind of flawed and as imperfect as I am, I was always trying to kind of show up and go, okay, well, how can I improve that? And almost kind of like watch myself almost from the balcony, so that if I do stuff that like I didn't agree with, well, I would kind of go, okay, well, how can I improve that? And I assumed that's what everybody did, you know, because everyone in these kind of fantasy worlds often did, So then when I started to get friends and I started to kind of be more outgoing, you realize, oh, actually, yeah, that's not what most people do. And it was this weird kind of thing of, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that was quite strange, actually.
it is, and because you never know what other influences they have had.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah.
Um, I could
Oh, no, yeah, sorry.
talk to you on this, and when I approached or we connected over this subject, I thought it was going to be half an hour of fart jokes and
Going
talking, and
birds.
but this is
Birds have got it easy. Yeah.
yeah.
Can I just quickly say, by the way, because I didn't at the time, like I can only imagine how hard that was, like, to deal with what having a stillborn and when you were 17
Yeah.
years old, and my heart kind of goes out to you, and I can't imagine just how hard that was and the amount of strength it took to go through that. So it's got a kudos to you, buddy.
Do you know what? It's one of those things that I didn't have the strength for a long time after. But hey, everyone goes through their thing, and it shapes you, and it's about how you deal with it. And I think for a long
Yeah.
time dealt with it quite poorly. But hey, I popped out another five. But it's no.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah. It's a
no,
fact of life. It's life is everything. There's love, there's loss, there's pain, there's joy. It's everything.
it is. And do you know what? It can shape you, but it can't define you. That's where I see it.
Right.
Right. One day we'll sit there and talk for hours and hours about how hard it is being
Yeah.
men.
And that's just about the crust. It's so
Uh,
hard. They don't know.
we've done a whole episode basically about crusts of bread,
I know exactly. Well, hey, we started there and we finished, much like a crust does.
much so crust. But look, Mike,
Mate, it's been a pleasure.
Round us off. Like we've made it better. Well, we haven't. I don't know. We've given
I think
people
we have.
food for thought. I feel better.
Actually, I think what we've done is we've allowed people to be imperfect, and kind of my one piece of advice would be to allow others to be as imperfect as we expect people to allow us to be.
And that's the soundbite. Love it.
There you go.
Mike, on that note, please tell us what is it you're up to? Where can we find your stuff? It's now time. We've done all the deep stuff.
Yeah.
Give us some shameless promotion.
So the music stuff, I've got some stuff that's on Spotify. It's Mike Vaughan music. I think the one even my mum likes is called "Will We Ever Get to Mars," which is about chasing your dreams, and she's brutal sometimes with her, with her opinion. I play drums in a band that have just changed their name to Picture House. So they were
From
called
what?
Temples of. So it was Temples of Youth, and now it's Picture House.
I prefer the new one. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, good. If you're listening, Joe and Paul, that's another vote. Okay. I also play drums and various other instruments in a project with my good friend Paddy Connor and a chap called Keith on bass. And together, almost like the three amigos, we are the Stanley Archers. And we've got some nice gigs coming up. And for comedy, I've got Facebook and Instagram, and that's Mike Vaughan Comedy. I don't tend to put too much out, purely for the fact that, the day job is teaching primary school children music. And I've got a song about my penis and one about dogging. So, sometimes I think,
Boundaries.
will I be fired for this? Yeah. So,
That's fair.
there's not kind of a huge amount, but yeah, there's loads of kind of gigs coming up. I've sort of done some nice ones. Have you heard of Troy Hawk? He's the guy that does the Greeters Guild. Sort of stands outside of like
Oh yes,
Tesco.
yes,
Like, you look spiffing, sir.
yes.
Yeah, so I did a gig with him recently, and that was amazing. So, like it feels that you're closer to people that people know of in comedy than you ever are in music.
Yeah.
It's almost like if you've sort of done some gigs and you make people laugh, people are like, yep, he's in or she's in. Whereas in music, there's all these hoops you have to jump through.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of nice for that, actually. Yeah, so those are the things: Mike Vaughan music, Mike Vaughan comedy, Picture House. My OnlyFans is not really.
Well, Mike, it's been an absolute pleasure. All those links will be in the bio.
Thank you.
And this has been quite cathartic. It's amazing. I hope people listening have enjoyed it. They found it entertaining, but also, I don't know, understandable.
They've learned something.
Whatever it is.
Even if that is that I am a moron.
Do you know what? That was my one takeaway from this whole thing. Was being a moron.
How much of a moron I am. My work here is done.
But on a personal thing, I being a dad, having dads, creating future dads,
Yeah.
people have a responsibility. As it's Father's Day, I want to thank my dad and my stepdad, Graham and Jim, for help shape me into the human being I am today, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think what we've learned is be there. You can stand up. You can fight the good fight with them, but you've also got to be there emotionally, because your child has no idea what life is about, and at least you've got a little bit more experience. And all there is for me to say is that thank you very much for joining us. It's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from Mike Vaughan. Say goodbye, Mike.
Goodbye from me. I'll see you later, everyone.
Oh,
yeah, sorry.
See, you jumped in. I said.
Should also add, I do have a stammer as well, so it's like, if you expect me to say goodbye on command, it will go screwed. Like, I'll try my best. Yeah, let's try it. Let's see if my speech is doing okay today.
Goodbye. Say goodbye, Mike.
Goodbye. Sorry, that was really weird. Goodbye. Well, you said say goodbye. Like, do you mean
say goodbye,
expand
Mike.
upon that? Goodbye, and thanks for listening. I hope you've enjoyed that. Nice.